Hi, I'm Riley McCallum, the General Manager of Magnum Automotive Group. Today we're at Magnum Service Centre at 272 Chewham Street on the one-way between Madras and Barbados Streets. Today we're offering our client base a $25 safety check if you feel you cannot wait until your next warrant of fitness. This particular problem is a hot topic in the industry and we are seeing this more often than we should. Cars not needing a warrant of fitness for another 6 months or a year, and tyres or brakes are completely unsafe. With this safety check, our qualified technicians can quickly assess and advise how promptly any repairs need carried out. By checking tyres, brakes, suspension, visibility, lights and a road test. Safety should be the highest priority in motoring, and we believe it has been missed out since introducing the extended length between warrant of fitness checks. $25 to assure your family is safe is not much money on the grand scheme of things. So to recap, Magnum Automotive Group are offering a $25 safety check at any of our 4 workshops, Christchurch, Dunedin and Wanaka. Please use our website to make a booking to avoid disappointment, www.magnumgroup.co.nz or phone 0508 for Magnum.
And welcome to the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint for 2019. What an absolutely glorious day here in North Canterbury. 10 degrees already and a beautiful blue sky morning. I'd like to welcome into the commentary position. This is McDonald, Lindsay, Kerr. Welcome back for our second edition here with the MoMac crew covering the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint for this year.
Morning, Grant. It seems like yesterday we were last here, but what a glorious day, and the forecast for the weekend is also glorious. The dust seems to be a bit of an issue already today. There's no wind, but plenty of dust for the thousands who will trek up the hill to contend with.
And of course the first of the runs are just underway on the hill at the moment as the drivers get 2 qualifying rounds before the lunch break and then 2 qualifying rounds this afternoon. So every competitor will be covered. A record field here this year, Lindsay. 64 entries, I believe, 63, 64.
Interesting entry, Grant. Years ago the quality was very high. This event this year is a combination of extremely high quality right through to many clubmen and also many who've watched it for years, I guess, and said, I want to have a crack at this, and here they are now. This is their chance to show how they want to do it, and now they're going to having a go. Classic example is who's on course now. Little Mini on the course. He just be here because he wants to do it.
And of course we say it's 40 years since the very first one. Of course there haven't been 40 editions of Ashley Forest, just 33.
This will be the 33rd now, and the first one in 79 was in fact a downhill stretch down Mount Grey Road, bearing in mind that they do go up Mount Grey Road at the start before they turn right at the hairpin. So that was won by Steve Millen in a work Chevette, one I'll never forget, obviously.
Indeed, and as the weekend goes on, there'll be a lot of stories that we'll talk about the history of this iconic event here in Ashley Forest. 2 cars have been through the course so far. Harland Scott in the Leyland Mini recorded a 133.42, and Miles Daniels in the Suzuki Swift GTI a 129.43. As on the course at the moment we have David DJ Musk from Brightwater in the Citroen GSA. This is a 1290cc flat 4 air-cooled machine, and just shows the type of variety that we have here. Who would have thought of Citroen?
I guess a classic example I was just talking about a guy who sat at home for years and years and watched on television, and that, hey, I can give it a go in anything that want me to. So I'll give the old Citroen a lash and see how I go, and that's what he's doing, and good on him.
And of course we look at the course here, and over the 40 years, Lindsay, the trees have come up, the trees have come down, they've regrown again, but one thing that's stayed the same is the piece of road.
I was just thinking last night that it's I think the trees could be due to come down again soon, and when they do, it makes a complete different panorama of the whole of the whole course. You can stand out in the forest today and you won't see anything but the road in front of you. Knock the trees down, you see right out to sea.
So we have the Citroens coming around the hairpin at the top of the course and is on his way down the hill for the first time. DJ Musk from Brightwater. And we'd just like to welcome in all our crew, or say good morning to all the crew who are here with the MoMac team this morning. Ryan, of course, who's the producer, Tony Myers in the back doing all the technical direction. Chucky, our director and editor beside us. Nice to see Chucky back. Of course, we've got Todd, James, Dale, Blake and Matt on the cameras. Sheridan and Anaru are the runners for us. And we've got Isaac and Joel doing support work and videography work here as well. So great to see the MoMac crew back in action here on the course once again this year. As car number 61 comes up to have his first crack at the hill this morning, and this is Tony Coakley from Motueka in the Fiat Uno. Starting off with a very European flavour here this morning with the Citroens and the Fiats.
Another example of a club man and a club car. DJ Musk, by the way, in the Citroen did a 1:39.88.
And I see Tony says he's been here twice before. This is the third time, and he's always been the slowest car. That's okay.
Yeah, it's amazing that when the event first started back in, well, I say 80 was the first time we used this course, as to what it's been through and the attraction that it is gained nationwide. There's something, the X factor they call it, don't they, Grant, as to what this is all about. And it's just, it happens to be a fluke of how the forestry has been developed here, and the round road has become a natural rally sprint road. And
So 5701 we've heard with the little Fiat Uno to the hairpin.
Had a very interesting evening last night, Grant, where I got a couple of guests in my house, both well known in the 80s for their rallying exploits, and also here at Ashley Forest. And I managed to, with my great technical capabilities, Grant, I got into YouTube, and we spent 3 hours watching the rally sprint over the period of 1981 through to about 1990. And it was wonderful to look at it. And today it's the same but different. Well, it's all go with the Europeans, Grant. Harlan Scott in the, beg your pardon, Coakley in the Fiat. He did a 1:32.81, so he's the second quickest on the course at the moment.
As local man Gary Meacham gets underway in his little Toyota Starlet. Nice to see such a big entry in the 0 to 1300cc class.
Yeah,
biggest entry of all.
Well, years ago, the class weren't really, I won't say weren't encouraged, but there was no incentive for them. There was no class runoff or anything, and they dwindled away. And the organisers, to their credit, have recognised that classes have got a big part to play. So, there's the various classes that we have here now, and included is the little cars, and here we have 13, which is the biggest entry that we've had for this size.
And a special mention this morning to Winmax brakes pads, of course, who are sponsoring this event and also involved in the live stream coverage with Pad and Rally Sport. Leading Japanese brake pads, of course, they're used in the World Rally Championship and R5 teams. Many GT racing teams around the world use these Winmax pads as well. Over 30 NZRC competitors are on the brake pads now. Excellent performance, driver feel, durability and lower wear, which is all good for the budget, I guess. Winmax brake pads, proud to support the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint for 2019. Gary Meacham comes to finish his first run here on the hill this morning.
That last camera shot of just going into the through the dipper there and seeing the coast out to the front of you, that is recognised worldwide as one of the most spectacular drops in any rally road. And if you're in a passenger seat with it there, that is just so scary going down there.
Yeah. Often been described as the biggest adrenaline rush anywhere in New Zealand motorsport, the downhill run here, and I can imagine.
And just seeing that shot this morning with the sun in the background, it's just beautiful.
So Rob McKenzie from Motueka in Nelson on the course in his Toyota Corolla. Such a sunny day, Lindsay. I wonder how the sunstrike will appear later on in the day.
We have had issues in years gone by with sunstrike, but I think, was that earlier on in the year we've had it? I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. Now here this view, downhill view, will come in very shortly here. And just look at this, Grant, how spectacular this looks. And if you're a driver and you're trying to hook a higher gear, and I hope you're not looking at the view in front of you. Look at the view immediately in front of you, please. Look at that.
So this is Rob McKenzie, car number 59. 1 minute 36.70. Car 58, here's Reese Turner from Dunedin and his 81 Toyota Starlets, another one of the 1300cc competitors, and this is his first time here at Ashley Forest. 25-year-old Reese Turner from Dunedin. So yeah, our previous competitor was 69 years of age, and now we have Reese on the course, 25 years of age. The spread of age of competitors in cars equally.
Not quite like the commentary box here. But compared to those working behind the scenes here, Grant, there is that comparison too.
Indeed. And good morning to you wherever you're watching the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint live streaming coverage from. Various Facebook websites have carrying the coverage, including Hayden Padden's site. And I know there are viewers coming in from overseas, and you are welcome to send your comments in on whatever Facebook page you are watching the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, and we'll get to some of those comments a little later in the day. Here we are in qualifying round one for the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, and this is Reese Turner from Dunedin in car 58.
1:23.81 for Reese Turner, which is a pretty good time for a first look. If I just do ask you to text, and if you can, to say you're receiving us. We do like to hear from everybody around the world on this event. We had great support last year, and looking forward to your comments this year.
So car 57 gets underway, bit of a shaky start for his Saturday morning, but this is Stuart Jack from Rolleston in a 1981 Toyota Starlet. Stuart raced motorcycles in the 90s, mainly 125 GP bikes. So he's been an interested spectator at Ashley Forest in the past, but now he's behind the wheel of this Toyota Starlet. Stuart Jack from Rolleston.
Yeah, there should be no excuse for slow times this year, Grant. The course looks very hard and very fast. There hasn't been that much rain of recent times, so fingers crossed it stays tomorrow, but it's looking superb at the moment.
So 101.17 for Stuart Jack to the hairpin. So also supporting our coverage this year, aside Winmax, is the Magnum Automotive Group, and we must thank Jeff Judd and the team at Magnum for continuing to support the live streaming coverage which MoMac has been doing, particularly over the last 12 months. It's great to see them here, and nice to be back at Ashley Forest.
Yeah, Jeff Judd, one of the most loyal rally competitors you could ever imagine to have, and he competes, and he's co-driven for years, he's competed for years, and now he's with his business, he's putting as much back into it.
So, coming up to the start line now.
Another star, Grant, anyway.
So Jay Ritchie, car 56. His Toyota Starlet is on the start line and heading on the uphill run for the first time. So this is the first start for Jay Ritchie here, although this car has competed here in the past. It was first in class in 2011, second in 2016 and third in 2013. So it's been on the podium, but not in the hands of Jay Ritchie, pedalling the car this time from Christchurch, car number 56. Beautifully prepared little Toyota Starlet. So we're working our way through the 0 to 1300cc competitors at the moment. As we say, this is Jay Ritchie on the downhill run.
One thing I noticed, Grant, when walking through the pits earlier on was the condition of the cars. You know, some of these cars now, particularly the Starlets here, are nearing 40 years of age, and their conditions are excellent. The guys are really looking after them. I guess you have to anyway to keep them in trim condition.
So 1:31.27. So our quickest time in the class so far looks to be, yep, that's
he's
Reece Turner at a
1:23.81. Yes.
So the Suzuki Swift of Murray Christopherson is on the line, car 55. So he entered last year and he did a 1:22, so he set himself a personal target this year. Better that, a 122.
Murray Christopherson, a man I knew many years ago. We worked together as lads, and he came to rallying quite late, but is passionate about it. His son Jared actually drove this car originally, and Murray was the co-driver, but things have changed.
Welcome into the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, wherever you are watching with us today. 1300cc cars currently having their first qualifying run as we work from the slowest to the fastest cars. And as we mentioned, this very heavily supported North to 1300cc class, mainly with Toyota Starlets, but we have, of course, like here, the Suzuki Swift.
Well, there's two Suzuki Swifts in the field.
And the Fiat Uno.
Yeah, the Fiat Uno, can't forget the Fiat Uno. (1:28.46) is Murray's time, which is a reasonable time in the middle of the pack, really, of the small cars.
And here we have one of the pace setters of the 0 to 1300cc class, and certainly has been peddling this car incredibly well for the last couple of seasons. This is Tim Smith. So Tim competed here last year for the first time and finished 4th in class. And he certainly says he's going to attack this year. Something that Tim knows how to do very well, attack. On this 1.7 kilometre course.
Indeed. It's a superb shot, a superb camera shot, Grant.
As they head up towards the hairpin. Of course, our live streaming coverage is all connected with Wi-Fi cameras, and there's only one blind spot on the course on the way up, which you would have seen, so we just missed a little bit of action as they head towards the hairpin. But a magnificent achievement from the MoMac crew to bring this live streaming coverage with Wi-Fi camera.
For people our age, Grant, this is absolutely mind-boggling what's being produced here, actually.
Indeed.
Well, I'm only speaking for myself, really.
So Tim's really set the cat among the pigeons, so to speak, at 1:19.65.
Yeah, it's clear.
It's honking.
Yeah, he's the quickest by quite some margin. He's 4 seconds quickest to his second one, which was Reece Turner.
So there we are, early intentions from Tim Smith.
Here's Peter Murch, a local lad from Rangiora, who was he was 3rd in the class last year. He'd be very keen to show all the locals here that he's still in good form. And
as he revs his car up on the start line, you'll note this may not sound like a conventional Toyota Starlet, because it isn't. In fact, it's a 1300cc twin cam injected Suzuki engine inside the Toyota Starlet.
Not very often you have Suzuki engines in Toyotas, is there? No. There's all sorts of mixed matches out there, but this is one you wouldn't really put together, but it obviously works for a Peter. This car goes very well.
And good morning to some of our live stream viewers this morning. Good morning to Nigel Lawson. Tucker in, he says. Is that referring to us, or is he...
We're not sure, mate.
Wishing you a successful event. Regards, John Garrick. Thank you, John. Alan Dunn, watching and expecting some great results. Yes, we all are. On a great day with a superb crowd here. And of course, plenty of people tuning in to see Hayden Patton. Of course, he's come here with one intention in mind, and that is to smash the hill record, to take it off slowing clocks. And Robert Fish Mackay says, hope all the competitors have a great day. The weather is awesome. Go Hayden. Good luck, Hayden, from San Walker as well. How long is the loop? Says Noddy Adams. 1.7. We just did discover that this morning. So 1.7, and it certainly takes a little longer to get up than it does to get down. And the record, of course, sitting at a
50. Peter Murch's time there was a 1:21.35, which makes him the second quickest of the North to 1300 cars.
So 54.96 is the overall record they're trying to beat, but it won't be coming from these guys, which are the 1300 class. And here is Chris Herdman. So Chris Herdman has been in the money in this class over the last few years, and so no doubt he'll be wanting to give Tim Smith's time a wee bit of a nudge. A 1:19.65 fastest of the 1300 so far, as Chris Herdman heads up towards the hairpin.
Chris is also very successful in the Mainland Rally Series in the class. Done very well over many years in the championship.
.50 bang on to the hairpin, Lindsay. Good time for Chris Herdman getting up there.
He won this class here in 2016 and 2017. In those days, it's only a few years ago, the numbers were only about 3 or 4 who competed, and things have changed very quickly.
So Chris Herdman crosses the line in a 1:19.04, the fastest 1300 time so far. But when you look at when Chris won first in class here back in 2017, his time was a 1:13.45. So plenty of time to come out of this course yet, as everyone just gets their eye in on the qualifying round 1. As Brendan Mitchell comes to the line in a Datsun 1600.
A great workhorse in its day, the Datsun 1600. It was one of the cars pioneering cars in the early days of rallying in the country. The Datsun 1600 and the Datsun 1200 were cars that featured very prominently.
I see it's covered in typical Datsun colours.
Red and white, indeed.
Blue.
Red, white and blue. The Datsun, this was the Datsun 160J was the model after this, in which Timo Salonen, did he not win?
Yes.
Did he win Rally of New Zealand on 160J? Yes, he did, didn't he? Was it Timo Salonen? Yeah. I'm sure if it wasn't, someone going to tell us, but I think it was a 160J.
Of course, I guess the most famous rally Datsuns to come to New Zealand would have been the 240 RSs, the Nissans, when they changed from Datsun to call themselves Nissan at the time.
Yeah. Yes, it was Salonen. He was a Nissan driver before he went to Peugeot. The Nissan had pulled out when they went to the Group B cars.
Brendan Mitchell crosses the line in a 1:20.66. It's car 50 comes up to the start line, and this is Jared Glass from Mosgiel in Dunedin. away with our 1600cc competitors. 13 to 1600cc. So Jared Glass heads up towards the hairpin. So Jared's been competing in local hill climbs and rallies for the past 3 years while he builds this car up. As he builds his time up too here at Ashley Forest, starting with his first qualifying round this morning and just waiting for his time to come through, 52.15 to the hairpin. Must say the whole course is looking spectacular here, Lindsay. They've done a great job in setting this up for the spectators. And it's a 1:24.70 for Jared Glass. Car number 50 from Dunedin. A little bit of useless information here. I thought I'd just look through the entries and see where everyone came from, Lindsay, to see where the most popular destination is. Of course, not very far away from where we are.
Christchurch.
Yes, indeed. 16 competitors come from Christchurch, and then the next most popular...
Rangiora, I presume.
Oh, Lindsay, you're on the money this morning. You're on the money. Yes, we have 8 from Rangiora, and then a whole bunch of 2s. 2 from Blenheim, 2 from Dannevirke. Well, that's father and son, so they sort of got into double figures by coming down as a family affair. 2 from Motueka, 2 from Cromwell, 2 from Mosgiel, 2 from Dunedin. And then we have individual entries from Waihi, Ahoka, Hastings, Ashburton, Kerr, Auckland, Waikuku, Invercargill, Amberley, Te Puke, Waimate, Timaru, Leaston, Greymouth, Canvasstown, Winton, Brightwater, and someone who just says they come from Taranaki, which is a fairly wide area to call yourself from.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Interesting though, we used to count the number of North Islanders in the field, not because there's any prejudice between North and South Island, on our part anyway.
No, not at all.
Not at all, but yeah, it's good to see that I think there's 7 from North Island in the field, is that right?
Were you looking at my list?
No.
Oh, okay, you're 7, you're correct.
I've done my own homework.
7 from the North Island, indeed.
And that just shows what I was saying before, Grant, with the mystique of the event, that it's been televised for many years and people sit at home and think, oh, I'd love to have a crack at that. And that's what it's all about. People have come, they've watched it, I must do that. And you'll find that the guys who from the North Island, with the exception of Sloan Cox, are not household names at all. They are club guys, and they've said, this is our big adventure. We're going down to the South Island, we're going to do the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint. So it's great.
And that's probably what encouraged our only international entry to come across, which is Stuart Reid from Brisbane.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Stuart does the Otago International Classic Rally.
And from that he's become very aware of what goes on here. And he probably sat home last year and watched us at home on his television set or his computer.
Indeed. As Jody Brenshaw comes to the line, he gets set to head off on his very first run for the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint for 2019. Just prior to Jonty, while we were talking about where the competitors came from, of course we had Michael Veronese from Christchurch competing car number 49, and Michael did a time of 1:20.33. As Jody Brenshaw heads up to the hairpin, our sole entrant from Canvasstown,
which is near Havelock, not Havelock North. It's in Havelock in the Marlborough Sounds.
Correct.
Very good.
And of course, co-driven by the Owen brothers, who certainly need no introduction to this sport.
No, they certainly don't.
And if you did give them an introduction, I'm sure they'd turn on a fine act.
Doesn't need much introduction to do that.
So, Jonty Brenshaw, 48.01 to the hairpin. Let's see what his time is across the finish line. So, still in the 13:01 1600cc. 1600cc Starlet. The green Starlet, a 1:16.91.
That's our quickest time of the day.
Significantly quickest.
Yeah, that's quickest by about 3 seconds overall. So that just shows that Johnny's not here to muck about. He's here to get straight into the second segment. The wholesale mode of the start line is
As we wait for the Toyota now of Dave McMillan from Greymouth. Beautiful looking car done in the Toyota livery of the day. Nice to see a lot of these cars put into the sort of livery that we do remember them by.
Yeah, I remember the works team coming out with Juha Kankinen.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Now Dave McMillan, he's been around rallying as long as I can remember too. In fact, I see here on his notes he's been around since 1969 in rallying. Well, that would be the very first of rallying as we know it in New Zealand would be around 19. In fact, it was 68. It was, but 69 in the South Island. So Dave's been around since day one. How old is he? Does it
He
say?
is 68, Davis.
Well, that's a good age to be, I suggest.
So as Dave brings the Toyota Celica up to the hairpin, we'll just see what his time is. It's a 53.29.
It's a pretty good time, actually. Yes, you're right, Grant. The car looks superb with the Toyota livery, doesn't it?
And you are correct when you said that he started in 1969. Any idea what sort of car it was?
Oh.
Now, here we are. I'll put you on the spot here, Lindsay. I would have never picked this one.
Well, I
Triumph
want to say an RX3,
Herald.
but Triumph Herald.
Triumph Herald A35.
A35. I wanted to say RX3, but the RX3 didn't come out till 72. So there we are, Triumph Herald. Can you imagine it, Grant? A Triumph Herald. What a handful that would be. Now, speaking of RX3s, here we have an RX3 on the line now, and we do recall early days of rallying in New Zealand, and particularly Rod Millen, who won our first national championship, and he was the RX3. The RX3s. That unmistakable sound of the rotary engine. Now, Grant, you've got to promise me one thing this weekend. We won't mention the E word, will we? The E word is banned.
No.
Unless we talk about Hayden Padden and what he wants to do with the E word in his prototype electric rally car.
And the only thing we want to know is where's the noise coming from?
We do.
We digress. Here's Bruce
We digress.
McMillan brings the Mazda RX-3 up to the hairpin. We'll just check what Bruce's top. Beautiful looking car.
Gorgeous car, isn't it?
51.98.
It's a good time to the hairpin. A very good time to the hairpin. If you did 51 sort of 20 years ago, you'd be in the hunt. You'd be in the hunt for winning overall. Well, in fact, an RX-3 won the first of 1980. Was John Wolfe, and the RX-3 won this event, the first one of the loop.
So how many events before they did the loop?
One he won.
Just one. 1:22.93.
Yeah, the downhill run, Grant, was superb. It was brilliant. The drivers loved it, but the biggest problem was a communication problem between the bottom of the hill here and up Mount Grey Road, which was about 2k away. So, and then some bright and some bright person, and I think it was Tony Booth, who was one of the originators of this event. He was the one in a light bulb moment figured that, hey, that loop is better, and it obviously was.
Gordon Beebe from Timaru, 57 years of age, car 45, the Datsun 120Y, but it has a 2 litre FJ20 twin cam under the bonnet.
So speaking of Tony Booth, Tony, if you are listening, we'd love to hear from you because you are the pioneer of this event and the brainchild essentially. So if you're listening or watching from over there and over the ditch, can you just give us a whistle, please?
As Gordon Beebe does a 47.34 to the hairpin. Quickest time of the day so far to the hairpin in this 2 litre powered Datsun 120Y of Gordon Beebe. And it's a 1:16.99.
Yep.
So not quite the fastest time of the day. Jody Brensel's done a 1:16.91.
Yeah, there's 3 in the 1:16s now, Grant, with also was Gordon Beebe, yes. Two in the 1:16.
And talking about international visitors, of course, here he is. Car 178.
No. I think it was car 4. Well, it's car 44 because the Australian.
So car 148.
No, we
It's
haven't got
obviously a late entry and not on
We
our
haven't got a
sheets.
148 at all. We'll have to wait till the times come through for the first run and we'll know who's.
It is Stuart Reid,
It
so
is Stuart Reid.
he is car 148, but it's showing in the program as car 44.
I must admit that car sounded very strong off the start line, Grant.
And we asked him if he had any sponsors, and he said, "Ha, I wish I had one." Stuart Reid, a 47.65 to the hairpin, and the Mark Escort Mark II.
That is a very healthy time, Grant, to the top there for that car. 47. This will be a good time. This will be the fastest time of the day.
Yes, you are correct. It is a 1:16.60.
I thought it'd be quicker than that with a 47 at the top, but however, I'm sure he's got room to work with.
Foxing a little bit on the downhill. It's only qualification round 1.
Learning the ropes, I suggest.
There's another Mazda comes to the line. This time it's an RX-7 Series 1 for Phil Walker from Christchurch, car 43. Phil Walker heads up the course, car number 43.
Horsepower, with a brake.
Okay.
With a brake and horsepower.
Nothing's happened there, must have been down back at the
Yeah, down somewhere, yeah. Different house.
apologies.
Yeah.
No worries. Happens on big
Act of
jobs.
God.
Acts of God. Can only be.
Only be.
It can only be.
Just send out the coffee runner.
I was going to say. Shall we?
Where's the boys?
Here a minute ago. It's been the usual bribery, won't it?
Do they take cash or posse?
Okay, to the brake.
I've got cash. It's going to cost me in tips though, isn't it?
Matthew copy.
Ryan spent $200 buying tickets yesterday.
What tickets?
Oh, for everyone to get in.
Oh.
Because as he said, well, they pay me, I pay them. I said, fair enough.
Oh.
For the cruising.
Okay, I'm going to try and get a car pass then too.
To the brake.
I'll make me walk this morning.
Yeah, I do.
I'm not walking.
Good for you.
I've got a job to do.
Brake. Heavy horsepower.
So they let you? They did. Oh, they put So pretty.
Here we are.
Could you boys go and get us a couple of coffees?
Do you want?
I'll have a flat white.
Yeah. Flat white, and we'll do a deal at the end of the day, all right? We'll do a deal. All right? Same as last year, right? We'll do a deal.
Flat white.
2 flat whites.
2 large flat whites. Thank you.
I know that HDM one on my television.
It's a bit of a hill.
Must be a rally raid we're on now. Oh, we've got nice clouds now. We must have rolled upside down.
Welcome back to the Ashley Forest live stream coverage. Our apologies, we did have a power failure during this run, but we are now back online and back in the sunshine here in North Canterbury for the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, the 40 years but 33rd edition of this event. On the course at the moment, Phil Walker in the Mazda RX-7 from Christchurch. No, we have on the course. This in fact is Daniel Feck in the Toyota MR2, which is coming through
Back on track.
at the moment. That's Daniel Feck. Daniel in fact is one of the 4 drivers who are dual entered this year, along with Richard Bateman, Sloane Cox, Sean Haggerty. Daniel Feck's 4 drivers dual entered, and this is the Toyota MR2, which Daniel will be sharing with his father Robin.
502.
Car number 502 comes to the line.
It's about 2 cars ago.
So we're just waiting for our live timing to come back into sync. So this is Kurt Aikman, car number 40 from Te Puke, in the Nissan Primera on the course at the moment. We had the odd Nissan Primera in touring cars here at one stage. But
Jason, Richard, and Angus Fogg.
Yes.
But apart from that, I don't. The Primera hasn't. You wouldn't really call it a car that was designed for motorsport or used much in motorsport. The Primera.
So it's one of two YMATI 50 2K Cup spec cars. So there we are. For Kurt Aikman. And this is his first time here. Kurt says he's only ever watched it on television before, and now we are all watching Kurt on live streaming as he does his very first run
He did
here at Ashley Forest.
1:26.57. So I guess he's hoping to knock a few seconds off that by the time he's finished today.
So Daniel Feck in fact did a 1:12.55. Before that we didn't see Bert Murray in the Mazda RX-7 with a 1:13.39, And Phil Walker, I think that coverage cut out when Phil was on there in the RX7
Yeah, it did.
at a 1:13.31. So car 39, this is Paul Cox from Rangiora, and another Toyota MR2. Said the MR2s are quite a popular sprint car, aren't they?
Well, they are.
Lindsay?
I think
well
Chris-
balanced, engine in the right place.
Chris Hay, who'll be here up shortly, Chris Hay in the turboed MR2. He's run his MR2 here for a long time, and invariably wins his class. And I see he's got more wings and gadgets on the car again this year. But no, going back to the MR2, yeah, it's a nice little car, the MR2.
So 2000cc turbo for this version for Paul Cox, car number 39. Paul Cox, 60-year-old from Rangiora, not too far from the hill here.
He works for Les Summerfield at Autotech. Still involved in the Speedway, I think, is Coxie.
Yes, he is. Speedway TQs, off-roading, rallying, pre-65s, modified sprints, motorcycle trials, enduros. Coxie's had a go at it all.
There's always a bit of banter, I think, at the tea breaks at Autotech, with Les Summerfield being there and who's the quickest of the two of them. And,
Indeed.
well, it's been going on for years, I know.
So Paul did a 47.88 to the hairpin. Let's see what his first timed run here in the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint for 2019 is, as he comes across the finish line, and Paul does a 1:17.45.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Just wait for our next car to come up to the start line. I'd just like to make a special call out to Paul and Nicola from Wild Trailers, who have provided our live streaming home for the weekend.
Yes, and I must again congratulate them on their beautiful trailers. And I am pleased we have a new one again this year, not a second
We do.
one that's been in use.
Absolutely magnificent horse floats these are from Wild Trailers, our home here for the live streaming. Most functional, stylish, safe and trailers you can get. You can give Paul a call on 027 263 1227 if you'd like to find out more about Wild Trailers. And if you're out here spectating at the hill and horses for courses are your thing, come over and have a look at this beautiful
you will
Wild Trailer horse float.
You'll be surprised, as you say, Grant. I didn't think trailers could be termed as beautiful, but no, certainly they are. They are beautiful looking pieces of apparatus.
Talking of pieces of apparatus, a Suzuki Ingus for Coombsy, Jeff Coombe from Greta Valley, car number 38.
Up the road is from Coombsy, a long-standing competitor in South Island rally events, and has certainly been in this event for a long time as well.
And a 50.82 to the hairpin.
If the wee car can certainly scamper.
So 2000cc engine in this Suzuki Ingus. And he crosses the line and does a 1:22.69 for Jeff Coons.
Good boys, thank you very much. Right, hang on, guys. Hang on, hang around.
Just wait for the Ford Escort now of Gary Hawkes. So Gary. But you can tell that's one angry Escort. 2.5 litre Millington 6-speed sequential gearbox in this, 347 horsepower. Of course, Frank Kelly's Baby Blue, the Ford Escort. Gary Hawkes at the wheel, car number 37. And this will be I would imagine, a quick time to the hairpin. We'll
started off in spectacular fashion.
Of course, Frank Kelly has made a name for himself from Ireland, coming out and doing the Otago Rally each year, and Silverfern. So Baby Blue has done a 45.97 in the hands of Gary Hawkes to the hairpin.
A pretty healthy time, that. It's all about the downhill, though, isn't it? It's all about the downhill.
A 1:15.82 for Gary Hawkes.
It's a very respectable time early up, 1:15.
And when he was asked about his motorsport highlights, he just said driving this car. And hearing it take off the start line, Lindsay, no wonder he enjoys driving it. As the first of our two BMWs entered in the SD Forest Winmax brake pads rally sprint for this year. This is Gavin Reid all the way from Invercargill in car number 36.
And you'd say a 328i is a very unlikely looking rally car, Grant.
Indeed it is. But we get to see a couple of them.
Well, Ari Pettigrew in the... Well, Ari's done a very good job in the 318, hasn't he? He had some good results in it. And he's got aspirations of something better, but it hasn't really come together at the state, so he brings out the 318, and he'll be pretty competitive. And he will follow Gavin Reid here.
Yep, the old 2.8 straight sixth, and the BMW gets to the hairpin, and what's the time there, Lindsay?
49.79, which is pretty healthy.
So Gavin's been volunteering and doing club sport work since 1997, so another one of the great stalwarts of the sport. They'd like to get out and have a skid and enjoy their club events as well. Is Gavin Reid from Invercargill, car number 36, and comes across the finish line in a 1:19.69. You like the story of this one? Gavin Reid says he actually bought that particular car outside the Wyndon pub as a road car with no reg, no warrant for $1,200. So here it is. As Ari Pettigrew comes along now with the second of the BMW 318s.
Yeah, it's been very interesting this with Ari. Ari can make this car talk, that's for sure.
And Paul Carter, actually, from Imports Part Specialist, is sitting alongside Ari for his first run here this morning. So good on you, Paul. Paul, another great supporter of the sport.
I think Ari struggled for those low gears then.
Of course, when he placed fourth overall a couple of years ago at Catlin's Rally with this car in atrocious conditions, that was really when everyone stood up and thought, what?
Yeah.
A BMW?
Yeah.
And Ari.
And Ari, and his first rally basically, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
As well. Okay.
49.31 to the top. You know, in those first few years, if you were up there in under 50 seconds,
Yep.
you're in for what was considered to be a pretty good time.
That's pretty close, because Gavin did 49.79 and Ari did a 49.31, so
I'd say
very equal machines. But overall, Ari's been a little bit braver on the downhill run.
a 1:17, 1:35, a very good time, Ari Pettigrew, that's for sure.
So there we are. Ari Pettigrew finishes his first run on the hill this morning.
He was 2.5 seconds quicker than Gavin Reid down the hill. So he can't be looking at the ocean beyond.
As we now look at this is Joe Quintock, I think, who was in the Mazda RX-7 Batmobile. Certainly a very fine sounding and well geared RX-7 heading up the hill. Of course, Joe's been driving the Scodia R5 car. No, Scodia, no, it's not an R5. The Scodia in the National Rally Championship, and that was probably up north, maybe waiting for the next round of the final round of the New Zealand Rally Championship at Waitomo.
When's that
in a few
on?
weeks' time, early October, I think.
Is there rally on today? Is there?
The Far North Rally,
On
yes,
today?
is
Yeah.
on today. And also, of course, the first round of the South Island Endurance Series is on at Te Ratonga. So a busy weekend of motorsport. But nice to have you with us here for the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, live streamed throughout New Zealand and around the globe, courtesy of the MoMac team and Raytech. As we wait for Job to get to the top, and he did so in a 45.36 in the RX-7 Batman.
Yeah, 113, is it? 113.95.
113.95.
Which is up there in the top group of the day.
As we wait for our next competitor to come to the line, and
34.
car 34, Robert McCallum.
Robert's been around the rally scene in Canterbury for a very long time. In fact, he's been around 30 years, as promo says here, so it says it all. He's done most events here at Ashley Forest since 1990.
And this is a 2.5 litre Duratec with a 6-speed sequential gearbox, developing 320 horsepower for Robert McCallum in the Ford Escort. And Robert's been doing the sprint, as you say, since 1990. Nice job around the hairpin as he stops the clock at 43.86 at the hairpin. It's a good time.
That's pretty decent, all right, Grant. Pretty decent. You'd be pleased with that. Now he's on the scenic trip down now, Grant.
And you can hear it coming across the finish line. Spectacular as always for Robert. And he stops the clock, I think, with the fastest time of the day so far.
Yeah, 1:11.38.
1:11.38.
The quickest time by a couple of seconds, actually. So there we are. He's throwing the gauntlet down, and others in his class.
And of course the faster cars and drivers are coming now. This, of course, is another one of our dual entries. This is Sloane Cox in the Mitsubishi Evo 10, but just running in front-wheel drive.
It's pretty unusual, isn't it? I don't think we've ever seen an Evo of any description just driving in front-wheel drive.
And of course they converted this car to front-wheel drive when Sloane was doing the International Rallycross Academy, and of course needed to have front-wheel drive car experience, so they converted this car to give him the opportunity to drive something on the front wheels, and so they've left it that way and brought it down to Ashley Forest as one of the two cars that Sloane is competing in here this weekend. And of course Sloane, the outright Ashley Forest Rally Sprint record holder at the moment in his special, but in the moment here in the Evo 10 front wheel drive as car number 33, 27-year-old Sloane Cox, and he stops the clock at 46.54 at the hairpin.
he got a bit bogged at the start, and I guess it's front wheel drive. It wasn't going to be the best to get away, but he did bog down at the start a bit, I felt. So it was a pretty good recovery there.
46.54 to the hairpin. And a 1:14.18 for Sloane Cox. So that's his first run on the hill in anger this morning for Sloane Cox. He'll be back as probably the last car in the qualifying run, of course, with the hill climb special. But in the meantime, we have, I think, coming to the line now, the second of our dual entered cars. Of course, we had Daniel Feck driving the Toyota MR2, which I think should be coming to the line next, earlier. And now it's Dad's turn to jump into the car and have a crack. So Robin Feck.
All the way from Danny Verk in the Southern Hawke's Bay, isn't it Hawke's Bay?
Indeed it is.
Wairarapa, somewhere up there.
My hometown, Lindsay.
I know it was your hometown. Is it Southern Hawke's Bay or Wairarapa?
Southern Hawke's Bay.
Hawke's Bay.
Yes.
All right. We better get this right.
And Daniel and Robin, of course, are part of what they call the Engine Room Sprint Series team. Now, Peter Ware, who's organised this particular sprint series, was telling me due to the lack of rally events in the North Island, just wait for Robin to head up the hill in the MR2, the lack of rally events in the North Island, a lot of them have got together and are doing sprint series now because they like to get the cars out of the sheds and obviously compete. So the Engine Room Sprint Series is a 5 to 6 round series based in the lower central North Island and uses the point system from the old Central Region Rally Series, so it gives consistent driver a chance of winning. And Engine Room Automotive is a small workshop based in Palmerston North, specialising in European and classic motorsport servicing. And so the team has come down here, 4 of them have come south to Ashley Forest from the Sprint Series. Daniel Feck and his father Robin, who we see on course at the moment in the MR2, and also Scott Harland in the Mini Cooper, and Gareth McCletchin in the Mitsubishi VR4 have come south to bring their cars and compete in this iconic event. Of course, the Fecks have been regularly attending this event, and it's great to see them crossing the straight and coming back as Father Robin brings the MR2 down to the finish line with a time of 1:11:35. 1:11:35.
Which makes him the quickest.
So how did he compare to?
That's the quickest of the day.
And went quicker than his son,
No,
Daniel, who did in the same car, I think, 1:12:55.
1:12:55 from Daniel and a 1:12:55 from Daniel and a 1:11:35 from Robin. And on the line we have one Chris Hay all the way from Mosgiel in the MR2. Chris has been a regular competitor here for a very long time in this car. As I said before, Grant, the car, he finds more wings and apertures every year for it. But he is the current two-wheel drive champion here and record holder.
With a 2.2 litre turbo Infinity engine in this car. Listen to the sound of that.
In fact, Chris, or known as Curly by some of his mates, and you understand why when you meet him, his record here was set 2 years ago. It was a 1:2:15. So 62:15 is the course record for the two-wheel drive cars. So Chris is hoping to break that this year, and in fact, there is talk that he could go under the 1 minute by experts surrounding him. I don't think Chris said that, but I think some of the experts around him have suggested that.
He threw it around the hairpin there, 41.90. And of course, Chris Hay took that very long-standing two-wheel drive record off the late Kim Austin. And that record had stood for 28 years. Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Chris Hay comes down over the finish line in a 1:08.03. That is today's benchmark so far in the qualifying round one of the Winmac Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, also supported by Magnum Motor Group and also, of course, Raytech, the organisers who put on this fantastic event.
Yeah, so we should give Raytech the plaudits for what they do with this event. It's an event which they're a very small club, Grant, and they were the ones that pioneered this event back in 1979, and through most of the time since, they've kept the show on the road, so to speak, and done a very good job. As I say, there's a small membership from a small club. This is their iconic event. This is their number one for the year, of course.
Because Raytech is Rally
And
and
Trials
Trials
Enthusiast
Enthusiast.
Club.
So I guess the rally trials and those things back in the day, they were big sport, wasn't it?
Yeah, it still exists today too. They're still involved with it. But they do. There's a couple of hill climbs that they do now. The Gibby's Pass hill climb, I think, is run by them.
As you look at the camera shots as we wait for the next car to come up, and the road is just in supreme condition for the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprints this weekend. And following Chris Hay up to the line now, this should... Sean Haggerty. So Sean Haggerty comes to the line. Of course, Sean is another one of those who is double entered this weekend. So Sean Haggerty from Rangiora, who's in the open four-wheel drive class as well, and he credits Richard Baddock for getting him into the sport. Of course, Richard Baddock was a pretty mean peddler of Subaru RXs himself. As Sean Haggerty has come to the hairpin in 42.06. And a 107.29. So
Wow, that came
he
out of
stepped
the blue.
on the gas coming down the hill.
That
Good
came
Sean
out of the blue,
Haggerty.
didn't it?
So that's very good. Fastest time so far, 107.29. There's Richard Bateman comes up to the line.
This is his 9th time here at the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint. Richard Bateman from up the road in Blenheim. Better known for his years in the Toyota Starlet years ago and before to the Evo. An Evo 9, very quick off the line, Grant. Just puts the power down and literally goes.
Yeah, certainly the four-wheel drives have the advantage getting off the line and up the hill naturally. And
There was always a discussion years ago when, originally there was no four-wheel drive. It's an invention of more recent times, so to speak. And it was, possum born with the Subarus and the Legacies and the first four-wheel drive cars. It took the imagination here, and four-wheel drive all of a sudden became very dominant. And it's just because of what we just saw then with Richard Bateman, that off the line just gained so many seconds.
the fastest time to the hairpin of 40.58 for Richard Bateman as he heads on the fast downhill run through the finish line and stops the clock at a 106.79. Faster and faster we go here at the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint. Richard Bateman from Blenheim and the Mitsubishi Evo 9.
I've got a question for you, Graham. Seeing these times, they're they're not putting everything into it yet. What do you think Hayden's time will be first out of the traps?
Ooh, that's good.
Bearing in mind he'll be aiming for a 56 when it really matters. First up, he'll be aiming for
He'll be close to the minute,
60.
wouldn't he?
Yeah,
He'll be
I'd
jamming
say
close to the
so,
minute, I would
yeah.
think. There's some beautiful Subaru Legacy and Posselborn Kestrel type colours for James Palmer from Rangiora. 27-year-old. Of course, he's a mechanic for Matt Summerfield, so he's on dual driving and co-driving duties. And this is the Subaru Legacy, of course, which Matt Summerfield has driven a couple of times now in recent times at the Catlins Coast Rally, which
and
Nicole
Nicole actually did the Hanna Rally in this car 3 years ago.
Oh, in fact, Les drove it at the Catlins this year.
Yeah, and as say Nicole had her one and only adventure behind the wheel, and she did Hanna 3 years ago.
James Palmer gets to the hairpin in 46.08. Such a nice Saturday morning here in North Canterbury. The crowd's starting to build slowly, and you couldn't wish for a better day to be out watching some great motorsport action at Ashley Forest.
It's like it every day here, Grant, isn't it?
Well, it certainly has been this week. What, it was 19 on Monday, could you believe it? Almost warm enough to get your togs out, Lindsay.
I'll take a bit more than that for me now, mate.
As James Palmer comes to the line in a 112.75. Is coming up to the line now, probably the only Toyota Celica GT4 in rally action in New Zealand these days.
Yeah, now who's synonymous with the Celica GT4? I'll give you one guess and one guess only, Grant.
And he's probably watching the live streaming in the UK at the moment
Right.
because he couldn't be here, Mr. Meekins.
No, I think there's somebody else. I know you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, you too. I think of Carlos Sainz.
Oh, of
actually.
course, in the international scene,
Yes.
of course, yes. The Toyota Celicas, the TTE cars. And of course, he's got the same livery on this car as we noted last year, but not in the same red, green and blue colours of TTR, but he's got the orange and the green and the black there for Willie Hawes in the Toyota Celica GT4. And of course the one that Ross Meekings rallied in New Zealand successfully originally came from Gary Cliff down here in Christchurch. I think Gary did a couple of events in it, then sold it to Ross Meekings, and then it was used in the New Zealand Rally Championship. Fondly known as Christine at the time because the car seemed to have a mind of its own.
Oh dear.
That's another story. Anyway, Willie gets to the top in a 42.89 and across the finish line in a 109.60.
I'm sorry Ross is not here, that we can't interrogate him a bit further on that.
Now look, there's something quite special happening here, Lindsay, in this ride. This is Dave Ollis from Waikuku, but sitting beside him for this run is our technical producer Tony Myers. Now Tony's never been in a car before, and there were a few people from the crew that have been organised with rides, and he was getting a bit fidgety last night thinking he'd been missed out, but Ryan, our producer, had organised for Tony to go for his first ever ride in a rally car, so we'll be curious to hear his comments when he gets back here. Let's just hope we don't have any technical issues while he's in the car.
Say, but even when he gets out, I'm hoping he's capable of actually doing some work.
So here they go. This is Dave Ollis in the Subaru WRX.
In fact, what I'm worried about is that all the boys are going to have to go down and get him out of the car in a minute, and we'll be left by ourselves to do everything, Grant.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, Chucky will take over. He'll be all right.
I'm worried about Chucky going down as well.
No, I would have gone on the car.
Because Chuck's in charge at the moment.
So it's not Chucky's in love, it's Chucky's in charge.
Yeah, that's it. Now that could be our take for the whole weekend now.
Chucky's in
Chuck's
charge.
in charge. Anything goes wrong, it's going to be Chuck's fault, I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Well, they did a 43.83 to the hairpin, and coming down to the finish line, this is Dave and Tony, and a 109.41. That's not a bad time.
That's a
So I
good
think
time.
Tony would have got his thrill.
Woo!
109.41. Good on you, Dave Ollis. Another great local supporter of local rallying and rally sprinting here. As Sam Hurley comes up to the line, Sam from Te Rangiora, and his Mitsubishi Evo 5. So this is the 5th time that Sam has competed in the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, with his best finish being 6th overall. So still a lot of the early Evos, 3s, 4s, 5s, still in competition and still great reliable
That's
rally cars.
That's the essence of them. The Evos are very reliable.
So Sam Hurley heading up towards the hairpin in his Mitsubishi Evo 5 and stops the clock at
42.81.
42.81. On the fast downhill run now for Sam Hurley, and he will stop the clock in a 1:11 dead.
I prefer even, Grant.
Thank you.
Yeah, rather than dead. It's got bad connotations, so things like that.
A 1:11 even
That's better.
for Sam
Thank you.
Hurley. As car 23 comes up to the line, and here we have Matthew McClinchy.
Now, Matthew's had a very interesting motorsport background. He started racing paddock racing.
So this is a 2.5 litre engine car as well.
Bit of a gap between first and second there.
So certainly becoming quite popular, these Subaru Impressas with the 2.5 litre. Well, this one is a turbo.
Sponsored by Traction Marketing, Motorsport Fabrication Services, Mag and Turbo, Pro Sport.
33-year-old Matthew, been paddock racing since he was 18, started rallying in 2011, and the Ashley Forest was his very first event, and he's been hooked ever since, and we can fully understand that. As he gets to the hairpin, turned in just a wee bit early there at 44.41 as he realigns the car to come on the downhill run.
That's a respectable time for the hairpin.
Matthew McClinchy. Getting down to stop the clock.
44.41 to the top.
And a 1:13 even to the bottom.
There's no need to carry on, Grant, like this.
We have a game of odds and evens.
Yeah.
Car number 22 should be next to the line, and this is Mike Baltrop.
Mike Baltrop, been around for quite a long time as well. In fact, quite a very long time actually.
Yes, been competing in rallies since 1985. So Mike says he had a break for a few years to concentrate on family, business and house payments. So he came back to the sport 3 years ago. Great to see Mike back. And he says he's competed here for too many years to remember. In the 0800 Key Safari WRX. So he set himself a target to try and do a 104, a 105 this year. His best time in the years he's been coming for Mike is a 106. So good luck, Mike, on your aim to set your own personal goal and get a 4 or a 5 out of this machine here at Ashley Forest this year. Up towards the hairpin goes Mike Baltrop.
Grant, just to put things in perspective here, some of these times, I just looking back in the program, that when John Wolfe won here in 1980, and bear in mind the course is the same, and the RX3, his winning time was a 1:10.81. That was in the final. So things have come a long way, haven't they?
They have. That's good perspective.
It took till 1988 for the minute barrier was broken, and that was Rod Millen in the RX7.
So of course we've got 4 qualifying runs today. It's all competitors go through each of those rounds. So we will be covering all
we have an issue
qualifying
here.
events.
I think we have about Mike Baltrop, is he?
Time is still running.
We we do have a moment.
So Mike's run has been sidelined, shall we say? So that's on the way out of the hairpin and coming down. So it is facing the other way, so he may have spun and ended up
On its side.
on its side somehow.
Yeah, wow.
So just while we wait for
We'll take a break.
the organisers to clear the course, just a reminder about our sponsors once again, Winmax brake pads and Pattern Ready Sport. Of course, they are the leading Japanese brake pad manufacturer. The Winmax pads are used in WRC and by a lot of the R5 teams in the World Rallying, and many of the GT racing teams around the world use the Winmax pads as well. Over 30 NZRC competitors are on these now. Of course, you buy the Winmax pads through Pattern Rally Sport. They have excellent performance, driver feel, durability and a lower wear rate. Winmax brake pads, Winmax brake pads, I beg your pardon, available from Pattern Rally Sport, our lead sponsors for the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint this year, along with the Magnum Motor Group, and of course also supported by Raytec.
And of course, without the Winmax backing, this event would not be possible. And I think it's appropriate, Grant, that I say this, that without MoMac, we wouldn't be bringing this coverage to you throughout the various parts of the globe. And to Ryan and his crew, what a wonderful job they have done getting this set up. It's easy for you and I, we just sit here and talk.
Indeed.
And the boys are doing all the work.
Yeah. In fact, over the weekend we will have a chat to Ryan about the technological obstacles they've had to overcome to put on such an event. Of course, it's completely different doing a Wi-Fi live streaming type coverage to the old days when everything was camera, and they used to lay the cables all the way to the cameras, all connected. Now we rely on Wi-Fi, like so many things in our lives these days are all connected by internet. And here we are, all the cameras live are coming to you live from a Wi-Fi feed, and it's been quite a setup to get this live streaming.
So who's going to interview?
Coverage.
Who's going to interview him? Because I think between you and I, we might struggle to ask the right questions of something like this. Maybe Ryan can talk to himself and talk to everyone by himself.
Oh, we get Chucky.
Oh yes, Chuck. Of course, Chuck's in charge. Of course.
Yeah, Chuck's in charge.
Yeah, our man Chuck's in charge. Yeah. Well, we hope. Actually, with all this, we hope Mike has come out of this unscathed. Mike and his passenger here. I'm sure they have, but it's would have been a nasty week experience then.
And let's hope not too much damage on the car, and he gets to do some further runs and have a go at his aim of trying to get a 106.
Rob Robinson and Dave Elling on crutches.
So just looking at the spectator numbers are slowly, well, increasing here, but we've got just in front of us here, Lindsay, there's a couple of well-known identities.
There's a couple I'd like to have a talk to as the event goes on. One's Barry Robinson, who, well, if you're over 40, you'll know who I'm talking about. And Barry was prominent here in the 80s. And there's David Ailing from Taranaki. He won the New Zealand Championship in 1990. He's here on his crutches after an accident at Pukekohe last week, trying to push someone stuck in the car park.
Okay.
And he fell over and damaged his ankle. So he's a cot case and demanding all sorts of treatment. So I've got those two to contend with this weekend.
So while we're having a little bit of a break in proceedings, of course, we mentioned that that our technical man went for a ride in the car, Tony. So lean in here, Tony, and tell us a bit about this. Is the first time you've been inside a rally car?
First time indeed, absolutely. What a thrill it was. I've never experienced something like that for quite some time actually.
How about coming downhill, Tony? How did you really feel? You turned around there and saw the beautiful Pegasus Bay in front of you.
I wasn't taking note of
Oh,
that.
did you?
I was taking to know where he was going. I could say the tanker corner was probably the most scariest for me because I just wasn't expecting how fast he was going to go through it. But after I got it, quickly built up a bit of faith, and coming down here was a piece of cake.
We've just been talking about the technical obstacles and the challenges of putting on an event like this. Tony, you're the technical man. While we're waiting for the course to be cleared here, you could perhaps give us a wee bit of an insight, because it's taken quite a bit of innovation.
It sure has, yes.
Tell us a wee bit of the background story.
Absolutely. I mean, we started off with basically like a cell phone hotspot. I mean, that was version 1, and we quickly exceeded our limitations.
Last year we had version 1, didn't we?
Yes, last year, and that was at the Canterbury Rally, I believe it was.
Right.
Yes. So from there we learnt quite a lot, and we started to invest into some equipment, such as like nano stations, which effectively create a wireless bridge from point to point. So instead of running cables for hundreds and hundreds of meters, you set up these 2 access points, and they can talk to each other and provide communication over a long distance. And that allowed us to introduce more cameras, more angles, and just basically more shots, really, to be honest. Better coverage.
So this is really quite an innovation, multi-camera live streaming coverage like this. I mean, there wouldn't be too many people in New Zealand probably doing this.
Not that we've seen with this rally sport, no, we haven't seen it really first. But, it's a great start for us, and we've had to learn it all ourselves. Yeah, it's been quite a fun experience, really, to be very fair. Yeah, we've definitely learned a lot.
And one of the big issues, I guess, for you guys is that when you do rallies and rally sprints, you're not actually in a close residential area where you've got good coverage, and you have all the challenges of trees and terrain, and which you have to work around. That must be
very difficult, yes, because trees actually block quite a bit of wireless reception. So I mean, there's a lot of technical obstructions that we have to get around, and with the equipment we have, we can definitely succeed with that. It might need a bit of tuning in, but our limitations are a lot better than what they used to be, but we still have some to this day, yes.
So this type of coverage, obviously, it's a lot less expensive than conventional camera type coverage.
Definitely.
How do you see the future of this type of live streaming and sports coverage going?
With bigger and better equipment, we can definitely provide a huge improvement over what we're currently doing. I definitely see room for improvement, that's for sure. So essentially, with a bigger budget, we can definitely achieve a lot more. As I said before, this is. Well, I didn't really say it, but it's quite entry level, but it's definitely able to achieve what we want, that's for sure. Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you
Awesome.
very much, Tony. Thanks for
Lovely,
explaining
guys.
all that to us, and I'm glad you enjoyed your ride.
Lovely, thank you. Take care.
There we are, Tony Myers, who's the technical man, keeping this show on the screen, shall we say, as we just look up and see they're still just clearing. The car's now been righted, as you can see in the pictures, and just a wee bit of hold up in proceedings as we work our way through the first qualifying run here. And a little bit of damage on the top there, we can see, Lindsay. It's certainly,
Yeah,
as you'd expect,
I would.
be a little bit battered and bruised from having a tip over.
I think both of them are look okay, such as the safety nature of the rally cars with the full roll cages.
Just while we wait for the action to begin once again here, just another call out once again to Paul and Nicola from Wild Trailers, who have supplied our home for the weekend here, our live streaming broadcast base. A beautiful horse trailers made by Wild Trailers here in Flaxton Road in Rangiora. They're the most functional, stylish and safe trailers that you can have for your horse, and beautifully presented. I think any horse would be more than delighted to be standing and travelling in one of these beautiful Wild Trailer horse floats. And thanks to Paul and Nicola once again for providing this for us to use over the weekend, and position just at the start-finish line, or the start line. And if you're out this weekend and in fact you are in the horse business, do come and have a look. You are most welcome to have a look through the wonderful Wild Trailer that we are doing our broadcasting HQ from. So just waiting for Mike's car to be loaded onto the recovery truck, and we shouldn't be too far away from getting the next competitors on to the course. This car, incidentally, of Mike's, which is being loaded onto the trailer now, he says it was actually a barn find, this particular car. It spent 10 years in a container with a stuffed motor, as he puts it. He bought it, shipped it back from Auckland to its original home in Christchurch, found a second-hand rally motor and got it going again. And he says his motorsport highlight is buying 2 sets of new tyres for it every year. So good on you, Mike, and sorry to see you've had a wee bit of a whoops in qualifying round one.
I suggest that the car might be back in the barn for some repairs.
Could well be. And I do notice on his form here he said he's survived a few rallies and sprints without panel damage. Ooh. Okay.
Famous words, Mike. Sorry. We won't be long now. As they clear the course, and the clerk of the course will skip through to make sure everything's okay. Then we'll be away again with the next competitor after Mike will be Michael Tom in the Evo 3.
So it certainly just looks to us like superficial type damage, so let's hope that is the case. But you never know when things are going upside down, sideways, on their sides, what happens with fluids and all the rest of it in these vehicles. But there we are. Gorgeous day here, as you can see from those shots, looking out across
So if
across
you
the plain here.
Canterbury Plains,
Yes.
Pegasus Bay, beyond us. If you are listening to or watching us, and you can you text us and tell us where you're from and how it's coming through, please. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely gorgeous day here in North Canterbury.
We can't quite take requests, but we can at least acknowledge people.
Indeed. So 10 past 11 in the morning, already up to 15 degrees here in North Canterbury this morning. Tomorrow is going to be even warmer. So it certainly is, the weather is absolutely superb for the 33rd running of the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, supported by Winmax this year, with support from the Magnum Motor Group and Raytec. just see Mike's car coming past us now, heading back to the pits.
Yeah, it's a bit second-hand, Grant. We'll need some
Love and
care
attention.
and attention. Yes.
Indeed. Right, well, now we imagine we'll just wait for the officials to get back into their respective stations.
Have a wee look round and then
Check the
we'll
course.
Then we'll be away again.
So just looking through the times we've got so far, the fastest so far of the day at the moment has been Richard Bateman in the Mitsubishi Evo 9 with a 106.79. Sean Haggerty in the Subaru WRX with a 107.29. Chris Hay in the Toyota MR2 with a 108. So those are the quickest times that we've seen come through so far in qualifying one.
Which doesn't mean a great deal at this stage, but as the second run progresses, we'll then get an idea of where they're going to head tomorrow. But tomorrow being when it's all happens with the down to 32 cars and the elimination from 32 to 16 to 8 to 4 to 2, and of course there's the class place runoffs, which is always great viewing.
And indeed, the top three of each of those classes go through to those finals. So 0 to 1300, then 1301 to 1600. The two-wheel drive classic top three. Then we have two-wheel drive unlimited top three. As Mike comes back carrying the spoiler. One of Chucky in charge has got some glue to put that one back on. 4 rollers. Okay. Okay. Did you spot that? Did you? Oh, do you want to come around and tell us what you? So we've just got a first-hand observer here. We might have Tom Smith. Hello, Tom. How are you?
You're right yourself, by the way.
How was your run today, by the way?
Good run, wasn't it?
Oh, it's very gravelly.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very gravelly. It's yeah, I don't think it will be fast times today. Maybe towards the end of the day, maybe the big boys will sleep off the gravel on the road, and it should be really, really quick. But yeah, no, for the first time as on 1300, it's very, very gravelly. It felt like you had 600 horsepower. So yeah, so I think we're leading 1300 so far by about 0.4 of a second. So I was just talking to Chris Hidden before, and he's yeah, we're all both scratching our heads going, I hope this sleeps off because it's going to be a while before we can get some speed up. So yeah, no, it should be all right.
Right. So you we're just talking about Mike's unfortunate incident. We by the time the camera got to it, of course, the car was on its side. But what do we know?
Well, I was just talking to Beltrop before as he's walking down the hill, and he said that he ran wide at the dipper, coming in a bit too hot. And he touched the bank on the outside of the corner with the rear, and it just spun it around and rolled about 4 times down the road and then landed on its side. So he said it's fixable, it just needs the roof. It didn't touch the sides apparently, so that's good. So that's only a roof. So he's happy, he's still smiling. So yeah, and he said the wing actually has still got all the bolts in it, so that's all right.
Okay. So don't worry, Chucky in charge, we don't need your glue, we've got the bolts. Jolly good.
Yeah, so it's very good. He'll be back next year, hopefully. He's a good peddler, Mike. It's just that dipper, it can catch you out if you just put a little bit wrong. So, that's all right. We'll find out. I'll find out again. Hopefully, I won't do that myself.
and your class is the most popular. It really has got a great field this year.
It's the biggest field ever.
Yeah,
in your class.
I love 1300. It's a great class to start rallying, and it's cheap. And like the tyres that I'm running today have done Westland Rally, Otago Rally, and Catlin's Rally, and now I'm just about thinking about changing them now. So, that's a great budget way of having some fun and enjoying our sport. So, yeah, no, it's grouse. It's really, really good in there.
What sort of horsepower do you get out of these little engines these days?
Some of the engines, like you look at Peter Murch's engine. I mean, that's an injection
different,
Suzuki, Suzuki engine. and that pumps out about 130 horsepower. My engine, it sits about 140. Chris Herdman's is about 140 as well. So it's all evenly matched, and so it should be, it's very close. Yeah, we'll having a bit of a wind up all the time, saying, "Look at you!" So yeah, it's good. It's really good. So yeah.
And great to see you guys doing the giant killing performances with these little cars out on conventional rallies. And what's your ambitions? Where are you heading?
Well, you might as well announce it now because a lot of people know what's going on with me. But
Quick, you're hearing it first, people. Here it comes.
I am actually going to 1600 Class B next year. We're putting a 4 AGE in the car. So we are going upper class. We're going to go up against likes of Jonty Brensel, who is a mate of mine, and he's been winding me up for a while now that I should go to 1600. So, and we're looking into doing the New Zealand Rally Championship next year and doing maybe 2 rounds in the North Island as well. So we're just looking for budgeting ways of doing that, because obviously with more power comes more money. So that's the plan anyway, so it should be good. So, but I think by Otago Rally next year, we should be 1600. We should have more power. Oh dear.
Well, another wee hint here: you mightn't be able to recycle those tyres quite so much.
Yeah, I don't know if Juddy's actually listening, but I need to borrow more of your tyres, mate. I know it's your birthday the other day, but I'm still taking your tyres.
So Tim, you're saying about the 300 class is the ideal way to start rallying.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And when you got a field like this, like 13 here for a sprint, are we getting those numbers in the rallies as well now?
You're looking at 1300, like from when I started about 2 years ago, when I eventually got my car going. There was maybe 6 cars turned up to the start line, but now you look at like Otago. I think there was close to about 10 or 1300s. It was really, really popular, and it's still growing, and it's actually like it's the closeness of the class as well. It keeps everybody on the edge. It maybe not like we're going 200 k's an hour up the hill, but we're still. It feels like you're going 200 k's an hour up the hill. So, it's a great way to start. It really is.
Yeah, I think for years that disappeared because people coming into the sport didn't necessarily see it that way. They went for, I got something very grunty and da-da-da.
Yeah,
but common sense seems to be prevailed that the fact that A, for budgetary reasons,
Yes.
and B, for learning reasons,
Yes.
it's a very good category.
You look at the guys that, and no disclaimer to the people that actually still, starting off in an Evo. I don't, good on them for doing it. But it's when you're starting off in an Evo, you've got to learn how to drive straight, and they're not a sideways car. Where in a 1300, you've got to drive them with momentum. You've got to keep that speed up. No brakes. Don't need brakes. Right. To be honest, you don't need them. And that's what you need to be. That's a great way to start.
Yes.
Is actually learning how to use the car and not just the power to get you out of problems. You've got to deal with the issue with nothing. Because going 4th gear, tip it in, and you put your foot on it and it just dies. That's a great way to learn it. And it's great. Yeah.
That's right. And the good thing about these the class cars like that too, you can go absolutely flat out. If you go off the road and you hit the mailbox or something, or hit a fence, a panel's not too bad to put back on and go again. But you do that in a 4-wheel drive Evo or something, and take off a water cooler, intercooler, and everyone gets a wee bit soft again, don't they? Because they don't want the damage bill. So
it actually is.
It's really important to start with something you can really wring the neck out of and not be scared to find the limits.
Yeah. Well, you look at the Evos, when they blow a boost hose off, they're back to 1300 anyway. So it's like. The 4-wheel drive cars, when they hit something, it's very expensive. So the 1300 car, like I had a sign at Otago Rally, and I cleaned it off and it put a big dent in the side, and my co-driver said, "What was that?" And literally one of my old co-drivers actually fixed it, and he literally just pushed it out, and away we went. It was and if you did that in an Evo, it would probably just fall apart.
That's right.
It's good. It's really good. Great class to start in.
Thanks, Tim.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for coming and joining us.
Enjoy your weekend, mate.
I will.
And good luck.
I'm going to give it a good old stab.
I bet you will do. I have no doubt about that. Good on you.
That was Tim Smith, folks, who's competing in the 1300 class,
and currently has the fastest of the times in that class so far. But of course, we are only into the first qualifying run at the moment, and just a wee bit of hold up in action. If you've just joined us live for the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint coverage, Mike Bulltrop just had a wee moment coming out of the hairpin, coming down to the dipper, and actually rolled his car 4 times. Not too much damage, mainly superficial, but probably not back in the action this weekend. But that is the reason for our hold up at this stage. So we put the program a little bit behind schedule. But if you are watching, wherever you're watching, thank you for joining our live streaming coverage. Time to make a cup of tea or grab some early lunch, and we'll be underway with the last of the cars in qualifying run 1 fairly shortly. Thanks once again, as we mentioned, to the Magnum Group and to Winmax brake pads for supporting and sponsoring this event to bring it to you live around New Zealand and around the globe from some of the comments that we have coming. Wherever you're watching on your Facebook streaming, you're most welcome to make a comment, and we will have some of those featuring some of the comments on here just a little later on. I hear the cars, and I think that might be Mike Tom going down the warm-up road just to warm the brakes and the tyres as he can to get set for his run. Michael Tom in the Mitsubishi Evo 3, car number 21, I think will be the next one to come to the course once we get the green and we are underway once again. Just a call out to all the MoMac crew who are supplying the live coverage to us today. Ryan, of course, is the producer, and along with Tony, who we heard from a short time ago, our technical man, who's been for a ride with Dave Ollis this morning, his first ever experience of sitting in the hot seat of a rally car. Tony has done a great job to technically bring this live streaming to you all. Our director editor, of course, Chucky's in charge. Chucky's bringing all the pictures to you, and then we have on the cameras, we have Todd, James, Dale, Blake and Matt, our 5 camera operators. Sheridan and Anaru providing our runners backwards and forwards between the crew, keeping everything going. And we have Isaac and Joel here. Isaac doing a little bit of videography work, which we'll be able to do some insets, I believe, for the coverage tomorrow, and Joel helping out with the support of that as well. So that's the crew, 15 of us here for the MoMac crew to bring the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint coverage to you as Mike Tom heads up the course now. Mike Tom from Auckland in the Mitsubishi Evo 3. Now normally this car is shared with Sheridan Bell. They normally take turns in this car, but I see Michael's driving it on his own this year, so perhaps Sheridan's not...
Yeah, well, this name of Michael Tom, if those of you who followed circuit racing in New Zealand, and particularly the days of our very successful V8s, Michael Tom is a well-known name from that era, and this is his the second or third time in a rally experience, so it's quite new for Michael.
Because he came down and did the Hamner Rally Forest one.
Yeah, this is his third time here at Ashley Forest, so yeah, it's a bit different from peddling around V8 touring cars to this.
And a 42.53 to the top is not a bad time at all, as he comes down through the finish line now and stops the clock at a 1:10.43 for Michael Tom.
And that magic 1:10.43 would have won him the event in 1980.
There you go. But he could go back in the time machine, he would have been a winner.
Well, there you go. Only just very exciting final, wouldn't it?
Well, this looks like a jolly good car.
Very good, Grant. It's Corey McCaskill from Cromwell in the Subaru Impreza.
3,400 cc's, they tell us, in this car.
It's his 4th time here at Ashley, and he made the top 16 last year, so yep, pretty accomplished competitor.
I see this car was built by Glenn Rosser and then Matt Jensen, so that's a name from rallying we don't hear much of these days. Matt Jensen.
Matt Jensen, where was he from? Middle North Island somewhere, wasn't he? Matt Jensen from Taupo or somewhere? Never mind.
Pass.
No, it was just, yeah. It matters not. If you are watching, Matt, please tell us where you come from.
Yeah. Round the hairpin goes Corey McCaskill in a time of 43.12.
43.12 the hairpin. Now Corey will be maybe a little bit cautious coming over the Kumo fast finish line this year. We'll have to see.
And of course he crashed here last year. We forgot about this. I do recall that now.
So a
When he lost his brakes.
A 110.06.
He's pulled it up successfully this time. Jolly good.
Another 110. To go with the late John Wilkes 110.81 to win here in 1980.
This is Jason Clark from Blenheim in a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 5. And I noticed on his profile he has age 46 with a question mark, so I don't know if he's not sure how old he is or
Maybe he once was 46. Just because you and I have yet to reach that, Grant.
That's right, exactly, Lindsay. Jason Clark heading on the uphill part of the course towards the hairpin. So Jason sponsored by Autospec, Richard Bateman Motors, CBD Cafe in Delhi, and he says my wallet, mainly my wallet. So my wallet's not doing a bad job as he heads towards the hairpin. Around the hairpin at a 40.95 for Jason Clark. It's pretty reasonable to the hairpin, 40.95. Coming down towards the finish line, yeah, that is the quickest time to the hairpin so far. So are we going to see anyone drop into the high 30s to the hairpin? 106.11 for Jason Clark.
Good time, it's a very good time. That's our quickest time of the day, actually, for Jason Clark. Next we have Garrett Thomas from Kerr in the WRX. Garrett's just recently won the Mainland Rally Series and having won the Catlins Rally. So here he's, I guess, turned the turbo up a wee bit, and here we are running in a, well, what class is he running?
That certainly got off the line well. Garrett Thomas, normally co-driven by his wife Gemma. Various people sitting in the seat with Garrett this weekend, I understand. Garrett from Kerr, and as you mentioned, Lindsay, of course, he had his first outright rally victory not so long ago in the Catlins Rally this year, and that followed up a second in Westland and a second overall at the Henna Rally last year.
Like many other rally competitors, these early days were in motocross. You find that a lot of the guys on the circuit were in karting. Well, a lot of the rally guys have come from motocross.
That wasn't a good time at 40.41, the fastest split so far.
Yeah, it's the fastest split so far.
Somebody's going to knock on a 39 shortly for the split, but Garrett Thomas, a 40.41. Good effort. And another car built by Dave Ollis, it's Woodend Automotive. So, son-in-law and father-in-law.
A 105.8, which is the quickest so far. 105.76 actually.
All right, now in the rally car class, here comes Matt Summerfield from Rangiora, of course a 3-time Ashley Forest champion. And always been punching above his weight in rallies in this car, Matt Summerfield. Oh, Mr. Gear there, Matt.
Mr. Gear there.
Of course, this is the ex-Richard Mason car.
Ex-Richard Mason, ex-Dave Ayling, who we were talking about before.
Yes.
He had it was a Group N car in its early days.
Correct.
Yep, then run by Richard Mason.
And of
It's
course,
been in the hand of champions, this car, and it's been a great workhorse for the Summerfields. Good 39.88.
we said someone was going to be in the 39s.
We're now under the 40s. The first to go under 40 to the top.
So, Matt Summerfield normally competes in rally events with Sister Nicole.
A 103.6.
Oh, 103.
Now that's
Okay.
pretty serious for the first run out.
That's superb time for Matt Summerfield. 103.6. And of course, Matt's highlight was winning the Canterbury Rally, his hometown rally, here 2 years ago, 2017.
He'd also won here in with one of those brute, the
Yes,
Starion of
yes.
Murphy's.
Steve Murphy Starion.
Steve Murphy Starion. Yes, he won here that in the Cordia in 2001. Cordia.
2014
14, I beg your pardon.
in the Cordia V8. Of course, that car these days is domiciled in the museum at Highlands Motorsport Park,
2000.
owned by Mr. Quinn.
2001. Matt was hardly born then. Matt, who won it 3 years in a row in 3 different cars.
As on screen, we watch Brendan Hart from Nelson heading up towards the hairpin in his Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 3. He's been chucking stones, he says, since the age of 13 on a 350 Honda twin-powered go-kart in a forestry block at Totra Flat on the west coast. And now, today, in a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 3 here at the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint. Round the hairpin, Brendan Hart goes in 43 even. First time for Brendan on the downhill run this weekend, and he will stop the clock at a 1:11.46. Getting his eye in, as they say, on this first qualifying run. As Mark Pedersen comes to the start line in car number 15. Mark Pedersen for Christchurch in a four-wheel drive unlimited. Of course, has the same name as another famous Mark Pedersen, who was a circuit racer.
I can't help but think of Mark here all the time.
So Mark's been here 4 times. He's a company director of Container Relocations. And he has fond memories of watching this event on television, like I guess many have in the past, and now he gets the chance to come here and compete himself. And I asked him what was the very first motorsport event he ever went to in his life, and he said the Daybreaker Rally. Remember the Daybreaker Rally in the North Island?
Out of Palmerston North.
Yes, they used to start it at midnight and go through the night and finish at 4 o'clock the following afternoon.
I just thought of that event before when you were talking about that sprint series for the Central North Island. You know, the Central North Island had its own rally championship. It's just,
yes.
Things have changed, haven't they?
Yes,
We're very lucky here in the South Island that all our events seem to have still be in existence actually.
Indeed. Mark Pedersen does a 1:10.55, a 1:10.55 at the hairpin and a 43.87. Yes, as you mentioned, Lindsay, we are lucky to have a lot of our rally events still happening. I think someone actually mentioned there's only been something like 3 gravel rallies in the North Island this year.
I think there's only, and we're talking about 2 next year for the national championship. We're down to 2. We're very lucky here in the South Island, as I say.
Car number 14 gets underway. This is Nick Clark from Christchurch in a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6. So still in the development stage, Nick says, with this vehicle. Built this car up from a road-going Japanese import over the last year or so, and he's brought it out of the shed to Ashley Forest Rally Sprint this year. And giving it a crack is Nick Clark, heading up towards the hairpin. On this glorious Canterbury day, as we said, already 15-16 degrees.
Grant,
outside.
You weren't living here in the early days of the rally sprint. Do you recall from living in Hamilton seeing this on the television? Was it compulsory viewing?
Absolutely. I mean, we used to call it our New Zealand's Bathurst. It was the weekend that we took over the television and sat inside, and it was our live event. And of course, Tony Palmer was the commentator for many years on the Dunlop Ashley's sprint. And yes, absolutely
those were the days when, you believe it, people when television actually paid the club's organisers to cover this. And the worm just turned, and within 5 years it was the other way around.
Indeed. And thankfully for MoMac and live streaming through Wi-Fi, we're able to bring the event, because television is certainly out of the question for live coverage for events like this these days. As Nick Clark completes his run in a 1:12.53, and he's stopped the clock at the hairpin in a 43.91. As car 13 comes to the line.
It just shows you how quickly things have changed technology-wise, hasn't it, as to what's going on. And it's actually amazing what the boys are producing here.
As car 13, Luke McLennan from Ashburton sends his Mitsubishi Evo 3 up the course. 28-year-old, he's competed in sprints and hill climbs for the last 5 years. And 5 years he's been coming to Ashley Forest.
He's made a couple of top 16. Yes, those new camera angles here, Grant, are very good, aren't they? We've got one extra, I'll use the word camera for want of a better term, but we've got one more camera position this year.
We have indeed.
And we've changed a couple as well, but I think what's been achieved now is actually brilliant. So we're just down to one black spot.
As we see Luke zip the hairpin on the way on the downhill run now. He stopped the clock at 43.56 at the hairpin, and his time at the finish, Lindsay?
1:11.42.
1:11.42 for Luke McLennan. Now another of our North Island competitors coming to the line. This is Gareth McLaughlin from Hastings.
And the VR4s were, I don't really recall many being rally cars, the Gallants and the VR4s.
Yeah, the Gallants.
I recall Wayne Muckle campaigned one quite successfully, but not in its years.
There was one other very successful one.
In New Zealand?
Yes, Lewis Scott.
Lewis Scott from Lower Hutt.
Lower Hutt. Lewis Scott was very successful in the VR4, and I think probably the first VR4 to run was would have been Murray Chandler.
Yes, Murray Chandler. He was.
He had the Rally Art franchise
yes,
originally for New Zealand, I believe, and of course he rallied the Mitsubishi Lancers, and we've lost the wheel.
Oh dear.
Sparky, the wheel's fallen off. Ooh.
Oh dear. Someone will be embarrassed about this little what?
So on the uphill run for Gareth in the VR4, and he's
I wonder where the wheels ended up.
he's looking up the bank, so perhaps he's asking if anyone's seen the wheel.
What do you got in the boot?
Give him Chucky's in charge number.
Oh yeah, Chuck, have you got your cell phone number on, mate?
Chucky will find it.
Here we go.
Oh, that's
Can I please borrow a wheel, Mr. Official? Have you got a spare wheel for me, please?
So Gareth said he purchased his first rally car, which was a Corolla, at age 16. Has competed in many rallies around New Zealand, mainly in the North Island, and he's owned this current car for 8 years, the Mitsubishi VR4. Actually, Tommy Mackinnon drove a VR4 too.
Wheel come off.
Tommy Mackinnon drove a VR4. In fact, Tommy Mackinnon came here and competed in a VR4 in Group N. There we are. In Rally New Zealand.
You got me sign on this one now.
Came out as a completely unknown and made a name for himself by winning Group N.
That would be before the Evos, the
Yes,
Lancer
that's
Evos.
right, yes.
That was the generation beforehand, obviously. And then, of course, the Evos became arguably one of the most successful rally cars that we've had
That's
in
right.
history.
Yes.
Yes, they would have cut their teeth on the Gallants and the VR4s, wouldn't they?
Because occasionally people like the Tommy Mackinnons came here with Group N cars
They did.
From Europe just to get a bit of a taste, and that's when we really saw how good these young guys were coming out of Europe.
Yeah, they're most unlike rally cars, weren't they? 'Cause they're quite a big car.
I think they were referred to, people called them the tractor in the day.
Well, there you
didn't
go.
they?
And
There you
they
go.
And they were. But Tommy Mackinnon, yes, you're right.
Then I think after that year, that's when he suddenly became a signed driver and went on to bigger and better things.
Oh, well. Won the World Championship, what, 4 times, Tommy Mackinnon?
Yes.
I think, yes, for Mitsubishi.
And now, of course, the head of Toyota's re-emergence into the World Rally
which is
Championship.
interesting. It's a bit like the late Niki Lauda, who drove for Ferrari for all those years, turning his attention to Mercedes and being so opposed to Ferrari. And yet Ferrari were the ones that made him famous and rescued him from,
Yes.
a terrible accident. Yes.
Indeed. So our second car of the morning getting pulled onto the recovery truck for Gareth McLaughlin from Hastings in the VR4, who's taken the wheel off on the way up.
All that way from Hastings across the ferry, and the wheel comes off on the course
Indeed.
on his first run.
So just mention, of course, about Gareth being one of the North Island competitors who have come down here amongst the 66, 67 odd car field. I think we've got all up now. Of course, Sloane Cox from Rotorua, Graham Bajering from Waihi, the Fex, Daniel and Robin have come from Danneberg. Gareth, as we see on screen at the moment, from Hastings. Kurt Aikman, who's already been up the hill from Te Puke. Scott Harlan from Taranaki in the Mini Cooper. That car started life as a road car 9 years ago, and he's built it into a competition car. And of course, he's part of that engine room sprint series team that's come from the North Island. And Michael Tom, of course, who we saw on the course just before from Auckland, are our 7 North Island competitors who are down here. So let's hope that Gareth can get the wheel back on the car and get another run or two in today here at Ashley Forest, as we look through the panoramic views from the cameras. And it's a stunning view looking out to the coast, it really is. And of course,
all of those out there who come from this part of the world, just look at that middle shot now. I hope you feel homesick, folks.
and this shot here, you can see the houses that have grown up around the course on the lifestyle blocks here in recent times.
I remember that being a pathway. They used to put the people up that pathway rather than through where we do now. And I recall my kids tramping across that pathway, grizzling and groaning about how long it was and how steep it was.
And of course, you built your lifestyle block, and you've always got the prime spot on top of the tank to watch the action.
Yeah, indeed. We just hope that the people there remain friendly towards the organisers here, and we're allowed to rally in the forest for a long time to come.
Yes, of course, the lifestyle blocks just on the side of the course here have sprung up in the last few years, and they've sold quite a lot. Still a few for sale if anyone's wanting to come and buy a lifestyle block close to all the action at Ashley Forest.
Even when we have the e-things with noise apps, with noise apps attached to them. What one do I want today? Let's hope that they have. Well, let's find what Hayden's doing with it.
Indeed.
Grant, I promised I was going to talk about this, didn't I?
No, you did say that.
But what Hayden's doing excites me, put it that way.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, talking about things electric and rally sprints, of course, they're starting the European or the World Electric Rally Sprint Series. Actually starts in the next month in Europe, and I think they've got to have fairly short courses because of the life of the batteries. But talking of batteries against combustion, I did laugh at a comment at the V8 coverage from Pukekohe last weekend when of course the Aussie V8s were out here, and Simon Evans was back driving the Get V8. Mean touring car that is. It's gone beyond. It certainly is open to say that, and he said how much he enjoyed driving it. And I did notice a comment by one Cheese Van Gisbergen, who's probably listening. Cheese, you might be listening to the commentary today, but he posted on the commentary, cylinders are always much more exciting than cells.
Quote of the week, Cheese, if that was from you.
So there you go.
But Hayden promises to fix all this, and they're going to have to, because I don't think you can have silent rally cars roaring through forests.
No.
At all. And I just hope it's done in a realistic way. That's all. Not with a V8. I don't know, V8 sound and just V8 sound great. I must admit, but for rally cars, I'm not used to that sort of sound. But something realistic, we hope. But isn't the World Rally Championship going to hybrids next year, or the year after?
Soon, yes, they are.
Hybrids.
They are heading to hybrids.
I know
yes.
British touring cars
Yes.
are going the hybrid
Correct.
way. That may appease everybody.
Yes.
Well, it will appease people in other countries. I'm not sure about New Zealand, because we're going to have any of these in 2050, are we? I mean, it's all gone.
No.
Yeah, right.
There might be government incentives to have electric rally cars.
Yeah, right.
So, alrighty, so we now see Gareth's car coming back. That's a beautiful looking car, VR4 too, isn't it? That's nice. So let's hope they get the wheel back on and there's not too much damage, and Gareth can get another chance to send the VR4 up the hill. As we're coming down to some of the fast guys having their very first run on the hill for the day in this qualifying first round. Spectators enjoying the sunshine up on the hill, and of course if you're coming out there was plenty of food and refreshments. Nice coffee, I must just say. We've had one this morning, nice coffee on site, so good parking and a great day out. So you can wander up the hill, wander down the hill, wander through the pits, and see a lot of these cars. Of course, a lot of these vehicles that are here today, particularly the ones that we're going to see in the Unlimited, virtually anything goes, no hold bars, put an engine in it, see how fast it can get up the hill, and that certainly is the attraction of rally sprinting, isn't it?
Well, it is now. Certainly, in the early days was basically you bought your rally car, and it's rally spec, and that's how you did it.
Yes.
But as motorsport being motorsport and humans being humans, well, how do I get the edge?
Yeah.
I got to make it go quicker, and therefore the hybrid specials become a speciality here at Ashley Forest.
Of course, when it was in the heyday of the televised Dunlop series, it used to actually fit between the Canterbury National Rally Championship round and either Invercargill, Southland, and a lot of competitors stayed over.
Yeah, that was the
and
idea.
competed in between.
That was the idea to attract the competitors, was to have it. Leave your cars here, leave your cars here, and the Canterbury Rally, the Rally Sprint, and then there was always. You're right. I think Southland always followed Canterbury in those days as a national round, and either before Southland or whatever order it was, and that's how we attracted the North Islanders. But as time went on, and as we are now, the event stands on its own merits. But certainly an advantage to have it near the national round, where we would get more competitors from the national field would be in it.
In 2005, it was Martin Rottenberg again, who was fixed on the Samara and Privet. In 2007, the second South Islander ever won the Winmax, the brake pad and Torres Rally Sprint.
We'll just wait for the next competitor to come up to the start line, which should be Jason McDonald from Christchurch in a Mitsubishi Evo 7. He started out stock car racing with a bit of rallying, and here he is having a crack at the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint this weekend. We'll just remind you that if you are watching on any of the Facebook pages that are streaming the live streaming coverage here from Ashley Forest, you're most welcome to put a comment, and we'll just get to some of those comments shortly.
We would love to hear from you people, actually, wherever you are, just what you think of it and how we're coming through, and your thoughts on what you're seeing.
I know one of the Facebook pages live streaming the coverage is going out through Hayden Paddon's Facebook page, and Hayden has well over 460,000 followers. So
and it's also going
out watching on there.
Also going out through the club's Facebook page,
through MoMac and
through
various
MoMac,
other Facebook pages as well. So, however you find it, welcome in.
I'm sure you're in on one of them anyway. Here we are, Grant.
So, look, the first one on the coverage, we have someone calling in from Argentina.
Yeah.
So, a good New Zealand morning to you. Mike Smith, fantastic coverage, will be there on Sunday doing block marshal duty. Rob Miller, what time did Rob Miller do?
So we're someone from Western Australia, Jared Althoff. Hello Jared, great to hear from you.
Hi Jared.
Ben Jagger, that's a name we remember, isn't it?
Yes.
So, we're gathering momentum with the comments, so please, people.
And also being shared on Motorsport Auctions Limited site. So thank you very much, guys, for sharing it and bringing your followers into our live stream coverage as well. Wherever you are watching, you're most welcome to make a comment, and we'll do our best to get through some of those comments. But nice to see how far and wide the coverage is going. As we mentioned, Jason McDonald is our next competitor on the line.
I got another one here from Sean Case from British Columbia in Canada. Thanks, Sean. We're delighted that you are catching this coverage.
So Jason, supported by High Tech Service Centre and High Tech Wheel Alignment for his Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 7. As we start to then get inside the top 10. Jason gets on the line, off the line, on the limiter, and up through the gears. He heads up towards the hairpin for his first run here at Ashley Forest for this weekend. We are in qualifying round 1. Another qualifying round to go before the lunch break, but with a couple of hold-ups now, that might be pushed along a little. But we will be here through all qualifying rounds today.
We'll be here through thick and thin, Grant.
That is us.
That is us.
Dust and sunshine.
As we have been for a long time, Grant.
41.71 is the time to the hairpin for Jason McDonald. On the downhill run he heads now. So he stops the clock.
109.61.
109.61 for Jason McDonald. And as we were saying, times under the 110 Lindsay years ago would have actually been a winning time here.
Oh yes, it took 5 years before to get down from 5 years from the 110 to the 105s.
Now, car number 9 on the line now. This is the Mitsubishi FTO, which is being shared by father and son. Son Daniel's at the wheel this time. And this is one of their 2 cars I think they've got here.
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
So this is the faster, quicker one for Daniel. It's got a 2.5 V6 turbo engine and 4-wheel drive running gear from a Lignum VR4. That is the one thing about rally sprinting that you do see is what the concoctions that people come up with, combinations of vehicles and engines and cars, and nicely around the hairpin. 40.16 at the hairpin.
As I commented before, Grant, in this early days it was all about the rally cars and in rally trim and nothing else was mattered. Then the quest to be faster changed things, and we have a specialist sport really in rally sprinting. But it does cater for everyone. That's what's so good about rallying, full stop. It caters for so many different classes and ages of cars. It matters not.
So Daniel Feck from Dannyberg to 40.16 at the top, and at the finish a 1.0624 for Daniel Feck.
Pretty healthy time.
So as Graham Bajering lines up on the start line with the Mitsubishi Starion V8.
It's the one that Kim Austin, the car that Kim Austin won here.
Big 6-litre V8s.
This is the car that Kim Austin won here in 98 and 99. That's what he set the fastest time in 99 with a 56.57. It's a record that stood way up until 56.9. It was Matt Summerfield who broke that in 2016.
And he likes his big powered V8 cars, and of course he had that Hillman Avenger with a V8 in it prior to this car. So 3rd time here at Ashley Forest for Graham Bajering. His best time so far has been a 1:03, but he's got to the hairpin in 43.87, and we just wait for him to cross the finish line. So fastest time at the hairpin so far has been a high 39, but 43.87.
1:11.04.
1:11.04. So Mike Wellington coming up to the line. Mike Wellington from Dunedin.
Well experienced man in several forms of motorsport, karts, Formula Ford, endurance racing.
And the green colour of this car might give a bit of a hint as to its
origins.
History. Yes, of course the ex Hayden Paddon Evo 8. So the 4th time that Mike has been to Ashley Forest. His best result 3rd overall, and he missed 2nd place by less than half a second. Mike Wellington from Dunedin heading up towards the hairpin, and let's just see if he can stop the clock. Not in the 39, of 40.67, so only one in the 39 so far to the hairpin. So 42-year-old Mike Wellington from Dunedin heading down to the finish line now. And he stops the clock at a 1:06.64. 1:06.64. Now the next gentleman turning up on the start line certainly needs no introduction.
Well, to those who are
Trevor Crowe.
to those who are under 40 years of age, they might. But Trevor Crowe, what more can I need to say? Trevor's won everything that's been around, basically, including this event. Trevor was the first South Islander to win this event in 1984.
85?
85.
Yep.
He's finished fourth at Bathurst. He's won the New Zealand Touring Car Championship. He's won Oscar several times. And yes,
Trevor Crowe, he puts down his age as still young.
well, he still likes motorsport. And yeah, Trevor just likes getting out there and doing it still.
And I know he was doing, we mentioned this last year, he was doing marathons. I don't know if he still does a lot of running.
Well, he still
but,
runs every morning, I believe.
So
Yeah.
I remember years ago when we were down at the Race to the Sky, and between the two days, Trevor went off and did a marathon and came back and drove the car.
He's been competing for over 50 years.
44.90 to the hairpin. So just getting his eye in this morning. The 2.5 litre turbo Subaru Impreza. It was actually an ex-Crow Sport loan car. So I don't know if he loans it out to too many people these days, but while you're getting your service. So he stops the clock at
Trevor's done a 1:12.27.
12:27.
And interestingly, when Trevor won this event in 1985, and it was very exciting when Trevor won it. This thing about the South Islanders was he did a 1:04.69 to win the event.
And when he did that, he knocked off Reg Cook's previous course record.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, dear old Reg Cook, those of you who remember Reg Cook was a great competitor here and also a great competitor on the track. And some of the clashes between Reg Cook and Barry Robinson and Trevor Crowe were very intense, actually.
So Richard Bateman now having his second run of the day. Of course,
He's been here before, isn't he?
He's entered in two classes.
Certainly early days here at the moment in the Winmax broadcast that the Forest running front.
There we are, the second one to go under 40 seconds to the hairpin. Richard Bateman with a 39.71. So I think this rally car class is going to be hotly contested as well, Lindsay, this weekend.
A 1:04.34.
So very good. That's a great time.
Yeah,
Richard
great
Bateman.
time. Next drive we have is Mike Toole in this incredible Mitsubishi Mirage. Man, this guy makes this thing really hum. He was second here in 2012 with Mike. It's his 10th consecutive year of the event. But this car, it doesn't look much, but man, can he make it go. So
just reasonable, gently off the start. You don't want to be breaking axles and doing gearboxes at this time of the day.
I've seen him quicker off the start line than that. But notwithstanding that, yes, you're right, Grant. He doesn't want to be breaking things, do you?
So sponsored by 4-wheel drive upgrades and sub Mitsubishi.
I mean, all the aim is today really is to qualify in the first 32. That's what's all about today for everyone.
Absolutely. So around the hairpin he goes in a 38.24. That's the fastest so far at the hairpin. 38.24 for Mike Tall. Might be putting down a tall order here.
Yeah, indeed, Grant. I think we're putting down a tall order here.
Whoa.
Here we go, a 102.51.
Well, there you
That's
go.
our quickest so far. Michael Tall with the Mitsubishi Mirage and a 102.51.
Very quick car. Had a few mechanical issues over its development as they've got that car up to speed, but it's certainly going well this morning. You'd be happy with that time, I would think.
So
for
our
his
next
first
competitor
run.
will be Hayden Padden, who needs absolutely no introduction at all.
And thanks to Hayden and Padden Rally Sport and Winmax brakes pads, of course, they are the sponsor of the event this year. Which I think at one stage carried quite a purse for the person to break the record this year. It's still, prize fund is still up.
I don't know. No, I don't know that, Grant. We'll have to find that out. Wow.
No, we've got Sloane Cox coming up first.
Sloane Cox comes first. Now,
This is the record holder here at Ashley Forest.
this is in 4-wheel drive trim, though, isn't it? This one.
Yes, yes indeed. It's an everything trim, this one. Hear the power as he tries to get traction in that car.
Very slim ratios in those first two gears. So we watch this time with great interest, folks. I would suggest we could be right on the minute mark right now, as predicted.
Yes. It's a very nice colour scheme that Sloane's got on the car this year. Looking very colourful.
37.24.
Okay. 37.24 to the hairpin. And looking at in there, he's tucked it in nice and tight around the tyres too. So we're watching with anticipation as he heads to the finish line, and
59.33.
59.33, the first car under the minute.
So we've broken the minute in the first qualifying round.
How quick is the event going to get today?
Yeah, that is there today. I mean, they're not going to declare your hand.
No.
Yes, you're going to declare your hand to the point, hey, I'm in the hunt, watch me, but yeah.
I guess as far as getting the outright time, you can actually set that in any run, really.
Yeah. Yes, they all count, of course. Although we tend just to talk about the final times, which is what's recorded, but yeah.
So the star attraction for the weekend, Hayden Padden, getting ready for his very first run of the weekend.
Hayden Padden, former World Group N champion, 7 podiums in the WRC, 4-time New Zealand Rally champion, and a winner here at Ashley Forest.
Yeah, so we're talking about the setting the fastest time, of course, when Sloane Cox. Enjoy the sound of that.
Well, I hope you can hear this, folks out there. That off the line sounded wonderful, didn't it?
And of course, when Sloane Cox set the record time of 54.96, it actually wasn't the winning time in the final.
No.
So just to the point that
Did you get our footage?
Fast time can be set anywhere.
Did you get our roll?
No, just lying on the side.
Just lying on the side.
So here he goes to
35.99. Yeah, bad luck.
so over a second quicker than Sloane to the hairpin. So the two big guns are really throwing it out there. So this will be under the minute as well.
58.28.
58.28.
58.28, folks. Okay. So there we are. The scene is certainly set, Grant, and we have another run to go.
So there we are, all competitors now through the first run of the day, qualifying round 1. As we wait for the start for round 2, after which they have scheduled the lunch break. Whether we're going straight into the next qualifying round, we're just waiting to see what is happening on the course. A little bit of changing around, spectators getting the chance to stretch their legs, change their location, and of course, as we've reminded you, there are food and refreshments available here around the pits. A lot of people enjoying walking through the pits and getting up close and personal to some of these Rally Sprint special cars, and just to see everyone who've come out to enjoy a magnificent Ashley Forest Rally Sprint here in North Canterbury this weekend, where, as you can see, the sun is shining up to 16 degrees. So while we get set to organise ourselves for qualifying run 2, we'll just take a 10-minute break and wish you a very good afternoon. Back very shortly for the second qualifying run here at the Winmax Ashley Forest Rally Sprint 2019.